Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or should I say good morning? And you know who I am, you know what time it is, and you know what this is. But for the uninitiated, I'm going to hook you up. This is the other side of the ropes, the online blog or vlog video column about independent professional wrestling from a wrestler's point of view. As for who I am, my name is Red, aka Shaka, sub moniker Black Magic. And my curriculum vitae, as they say in Britain, speaks for itself. 13 years in, going on 13 and a half, 5 countries, 11 states, including the District of Columbia. Enough said. Anyway, now for the people who's been keeping track, last week, which was around, let's see, the eves of Thanksgiving, I kind of pulled off a trifecta. And the trifecta was, well, like I said, I did it first. 3, tres, trois, drei. That's right. 3 columns in 1 week. Stream of conscious. Now, or a stream of consciousness, as it were, which is pretty rare for me to go and pull something like that off. The reason being, that last one, for those of you who recall, that's when we put a name to the things that's been going on. If anybody's been on Facebook and everything else, things have been going on throughout the ranks in some parts of the Indies, especially over in the East Coast here where I live. They were putting a name to the things that's been going on. And the name that was going on to this was the sickness, as I had mentioned in this book here. That's right. You see it in The Pit with Piper, Rowdy Roddy Piper. He put out a book a few years back. I've read it at least 3 times. And in chapter 12, aptly named the thing that he coined, it's called the sickness. What is a sickness? You can call it a condition of delusion or whatever you want to call it. It has to do with the fact that something that we guys, that us guys go through, our fellow frat brothers have been going through over the course of the years. I say delusion because we go through this whole bit of trying to defend the authenticity or the realness or realism of professional wrestling. Now, see, the thing is, guys like Roddy Piper, these guys had to literally risk life and limb to prove just how real professional wrestling was in their time. We're talking 20, 30 years ago. Well, at least 30 years ago. Now, after the event of the past decade, that hasn't really been the case. Or, I'm going to go as far as saying it because you have all the tell-alls. What we call in the business, and I've said it, matter of fact, it was in my first column when I wrote it about 7 years ago, kayfabe. The big complaint is kayfabe is dead. And I did my damnedest to defend this. Kayfabe didn't die. It mutated. It changed. It changes as per the mentality of each generation. I think what happened was we gotten so lackadaisical, we've gotten so complacent, we didn't think that we would have to change anything. And we stuck with the status quo. Not exactly our fault, but that's another symptom of the sickness. The people that came before us don't know this. Even Piper said this. And I even coined this thing as Piper's Law. And it goes like this. The amount of the sickness in a wrestler is in direct proportion to the level of manipulation of the promoter. Whatever promoter wants the wrestler to do, he'll do what he has to do to keep it that way. It's kind of the equation. It's kind of like the same as say the Army, basic training. Drill sergeant tells the soldier to jump. Recruit says how high. Something like that. That's how it works. And we've gotten so conditioned, you know, it ties into what I like to call the Bill Watts corollary. And it goes like this. Work or shoot is still competition. Now the problem is we've had so many people that's within the subculture of professional wrestling. They forgot about the competition part. They just knew about the first part of that corollary, the work. The shoot's been all but eliminated. Who does the shoot? That was even before my time. Because most of the guys that did all the shooting, they got phased out about, well, damn near 3 decades ago. I mean, I said this before in several columns. Karl Gotch was one of the best shooters of his time. He studied in the Snake Pit. And for those of you who don't know what the Snake Pit is, think about where, this is in England, Wigan, England. This is where the birthplace of a lot of shooters came from. Karl Gotch is one of them. Billy Robinson was one of them. Karl Gotch is one of the guys, basically it put Wigan on the map when he did his thing, and he started the thing over in Japan called Strong Style. Billy Robinson came right after him, and that's what started pretty much the whole thing about shoot wrestling or shoot fighting about 20 years ago. Now, who else came from there? Let's see, Quick Kick Lee. We knew him as the first Tiger Mask. He started the oldest and still running MMA promotion called Shuto. Who else? The British Bulldogs. Now, before I end up digressing, I got into this debate early in the week. Somebody was saying something about the fact that, you know, wrestlers, they take a booking 3 back-to-back, something like that, whether they're hurt or not. Why can an MMA fighter do that? And I'll answer that question. This is combat sports. An MMA fighter or mixed martial artist is training 2 months for one particular fighter, for one particular style. 8 weeks. Same thing with a boxer. Now, we go in hurt, and that's tomfoolery. That's why a lot of us are broken up and dying in the process. Now, you can say the thing about, oh, they might have to take 6 months off. Yeah, guess what? Those 4 months is rehab. The other 2, back to fight camp. You know why? Who wants to pay their hard-earned money to see somebody go into the cage at less than 100%? And they're getting paid big time for it. At least 4 figures. They're getting a nice little cut off the gate. You know why? Because that price of admission, I guarantee you, is probably almost equal to, if not more than, those 3 paydays you're getting for those triple bookings you're getting. Because general admission for an MMA fight is at least $30. I've seen it up to $60. And we're talking just general admission. And they're getting more. Now, most guys are thinking a ring rental for a wrestling ring is about $300 to $500 a pop. That's just a rental. The ring itself is 4 figures. Now, how much do you think it's going to cost you for an octagon or even a circular cage? Oh, you coming out with, oh, please. You coming out with a 5-stack, easy. Now, see, because I had that one fight 2 years ago, listen, I get every few months catalogs from at least 4 different spots. Ringside Magazine, Suplex, Combat Sports International, and Throwdown. Those last 2 cover boxing and mixed martial arts. Ringside covers boxing and also mixed martial arts. Suplex, to a degree, believe it or not, mostly wrestling, as in custom-made singlets, grappling shoes. That's where I get my grappling shoes from. That's where I've got knee pads from. Combat Sports International, I've gotten a lot of my hand wraps from them. I've gotten my cups from there. And a couple other places where I got my Vale Tudo shorts. Dude, it's not etched in stone. And last time I checked, I did not sign a blood contract saying I had to wear baggy pants in the ring. And most people will recommend against it. I go as practical as possible. I use fight shorts to train, but I'll go in with Vale Tudo shorts. Not biker shorts, Vale Tudo. And what that term is from the Brazilian guys. Vale Tudo means anything goes. And if you don't know who the Brazilian guys is, oh, I'm sure you guys heard of Vanderlei and Anderson Silva. Vale Tudo, before they went over to Japan. We've got a lot to learn, guys. And I think what happened was we've gotten so complacent and we're not looking for answers. We shrugged our collective shoulders as to what to do next. And everybody's sitting there watching all these pay-per-views looking for a miracle. Dude, listen. That's a high level of the work. Even McMahon has no control over that. You know why? When my man turned around back in 1999 and had his stock go public, and if I go in my closet right now, there is a copy of their first IPO. And for the uninitiated, again, an IPO is short for Initial Prospectus Offering. Something I did on the side when I broke in. You know, that was my full-time job. I worked for a financial document solution thing. And they handle this stuff. And the IPO came from the Connecticut office. And guess who one of the clients were? The WWF. Now, I can pull it out, but I'll save that for later. But I have a copy of their IPO, and this is back when their stock started off at 17 and change per share. This is why. You're at the mercy of the networks. They do what they say, and now what they call wrestling, yeah, sports entertainment. Now, the other thing, athletic commissions. Here's the deal. They enforce weight classes. We don't. And people wonder why we don't take it seriously. Listen, in MMA, here's the deal. Before you can even think about trying to take a fight, all right, you got that fight camp. Now, if the guy gets hurt, if he's damaged goods during fight camp, guess what happens? He gets scratched, and they got to find another replacement. And they got to get one within 2 weeks' notice. That was happening in my case. I was a replacement at 2 weeks' notice. So I had to be responsible for making weight. Now, here's the deal. You have to have your physical, which means you're cleared, meaning you're not going to kill over, and they check your blood pressure during weigh-in the day of the fight down in South Philly. Now, I had to go see the athletic commissioner, Greg Serb. Now, in between all that, your blood test has to be straight. I call it the Triple H because they're checking for hepatitis B and C and HIV. One of those is positive, you ain't getting in that cage, Jack. Now, you want to talk about what they do? Listen, if a boxer and a mixed martial artist gets cut, they got a cut man in between the rounds. In a wrestling match, you cut bad enough, guess what happens? They stop in the match. If you don't stop it fast enough, they can start the whole show. You ain't wrestling in Pennsylvania ever again. And if you're like me, in my case, I'll be 40 in about 24 days. Now, the cutoff age is 36 before getting a CAT scan. You go in at the age of 37, you need a CAT scan. I got lucky. It was the end of the year. But after that, and I tried to fight the following year at 38, Greg Serb said, you can't fight. You know why? It's a little fine print there. You need a CAT scan before you can fight because they think you're punch drunk. And this is the amateurs. Just saying. Now, here's another thing. You want to try and play that whole thing about it's entertainment? Got news for you. Some states are regulated and they're hip to that nonsense. You know why? You go down to Delaware and try that and see what happens. They're going to tell you, look, we want your real name. We want your ring name. It's like any other regulated state. We want your ring name too. And guess what? You want to say entertainment? Fine. We want to know the outcome of the match. So they hip to that. So what are we going to do? We got some thinking to do, people. So y'all need to redefine this thing real quick and stop looking for a miracle in mainstream, because mainstream, Vince is not going to save our asses. Never had our interests at heart, never will. Guess what? That means it's up to us, which means we got some learning to do. And this new generation, the whip need to be cracked. That ain't going to happen. Guess what? Start culling the herd. Now me, I got my solution. I'm not going to say what it is, but some of y'all who know me already know what it is. We ain't going to go there. But since it's the time I normally do my shout outs and I'm running short on time, I'm going to cut it short and I'm going to stop it right now. Like I said, if y'all got some kind of thing to try to call me on, go for it. I'm always up for suggestions. In the meantime, I will see y'all next week on the 4th. Johnny Logan and I, we got the captain, Dave Spieler, on Top Rope Radio. And tune in next week for the 7th anniversary of The Other Side of Ropes. In the meantime, I'm Red. For the rest of y'all people out there abroad and abound and all y'all, love you. I'm out. Peace.